Welcome to the Stickers on the Mic podcast, brought to you by StickerGiant.com, where we talk with our customers about how they started their business, how they're marketing their brand, and how they're growing their company. Without further ado, it's time for the Stickers on the Mic podcast from Sticker Giant. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stickers on the Mic. Andrew with you once again, and today very excited to be dialing in Susan Liu and Nithin from Orange County, California. They are the founders of the team of JKL Teahouse, they are the publishers of R is for Rice, which is a really cool book that I found through their sticker sheet in the Sticker Giant factory, and I was very excited that they were willing to join us to chat about their venture. So thank you both.
Thanks you for having us.
So part of the joy of my life is finding awesome designs and cool businesses. That's what Stickers on the Mic is all about. And I was taken by this sheet, R is for Rice companion stickers. You can't really see it in the light, but that's okay. This is an audio production. So I immediately said, I need to know more about this. So I went on the website, of course, like I always do. And I just really love your branding and your mission. And I wanted to just open the floor to the both of you. We can bounce back and forth. But, you know, this venture has been going on, from what I can understand, a little over 2.5 years. So you probably learned a lot of cool things. And, but you have a book out, R is for Rice. So what is that? It's on your background there and it's prominent. So what, let's dive right into the book and then we'll talk about the business.
Sure. I think I'll start. This is Susan. R is for Rice is a delicious journey through the alphabet of Asian American foods. And so it's designed it's a book really for kids and their parents whose kids are in the ABC book age. And so that could be, infants who are being read to, all the way through early readers to 6-7 years old who can read themselves. And so it's an ABC book, much in the style of a lot of ABC books that we all grew up with, except that when we all grew up, there weren't any ABC books that featured or centered Asian Americans, and that was our goal in creating this book.
That's awesome. And obviously needed. So Nithin, going off what Susan was saying there, trying to bring more representation to it. What is then JKL Teahouse is sort of like a brand for the both of you, like on top of R is for Rice? Obviously, we'll keep talking more about the content and development of that. But JKL Teahouse, walk us through starting this sort of brand.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So we started JKL Teahouse. It's actually the initials and the last names of all three of us co-authors and founders of JKL Teahouse. I'm, Jilla, Joanna Kong, who's not able to be here today, is Kong, and then Susan is Liu. And being Asian American too, we were trying to think of a name that we'd all resonate with. And for us, we've had a lot of meetings and we're all big lovers of tea. And, tea is something that traditionally, just through historical times, has brought people together around ideas and great conversation. And we thought, how cool would it be to represent that in a name? So JKL Teahouse for us started that way as a name. And it's a company that we self-published, R is for Rice, which is our first children's book through it. Our mission at JKL Teahouse, I think it's to really inspire Asian and bring more awareness about Asian American culture and impact of Asian American communities here in American life, right? And that's really that we want to embrace those kind of values. I'd love for Susan to talk a little bit about the specific origin story for each of us, and why it's personal, why AAPI issues are personal for us too. If Susan, maybe you want to talk a little bit about how we came together.
Sure. So we all came together originally on a different project that is called Asian American Futures, and it's a philanthropic organization based in Orange County that we have the goal of ensuring a robust future for Asian Americans. And a bunch of friends and friends of friends came together in 2018, and we decided, we looked around to see who was out there representing, Asian Americans as a whole, as a unified community, and advocating for Asian Americans on the philanthropic stage. And we didn't see anything at the time. And so we thought, Orange County being the third largest metropolitan area in terms of Asian Americans. We thought this was a great place to do that. So we started doing that. And in the process of creating this philanthropic organization, we all really buckled down on our education about Asian American representation in all sorts of areas, whether it was like government and politics or media, education, and philanthropy. And media really came up as, when I looked at media, like I really saw that there was a lack of representation of Asian Americans in children's books. And what little there was mostly centered on one ethnicity or one immigrant group. So there were actually quite a few books about Chinese Americans and a lot of books about Japanese Americans. And you were starting to see more books about Filipino Americans, Korean Americans, Indian Americans, and so on. But part of our mission at Asian American Futures is to advocate for Asian Americans as a whole, because generally speaking, policy-wise and marketing-wise, we're all lumped together, like in business and policy and things like that. So we thought, you know what, there's a need and there's space for media, especially in children's literature, for books and media that represent a unified pan-Asian American identity.
Right. And it's interesting you say that because, when you're developing content like that, right? Like, and you focus on your audience, you've figured all those things out. Those are like the strategic moving parts. But then and there's some noble things there too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can have some fun, right? And then you come up with the book and the concept, and it's like bright and it's big. And I'm a typography nerd, especially people who listen to the show all the time know. So I just love even just on the sticker sheet, like that style, the font, but then what you've got in the book. So so from this beautiful 30,000
more serious, it's a more serious mission.
So let's just go back, zoom down, and I want to talk about y'all coming up with the pages and working with your illustrator and being able to now deliver on the promise of all that, right? Those are all awesome things. And now you're but then you're kind of can do the creative part. So I'd like to also uncover a little bit of how the pages came together and you selected the various, because it's relatively straightforward, right? You say it's an alphabet book, but feels like there's more than that.
Oh, it took there's a lot. Do you want to start talking about it, Nithin? Our process of our list and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, we went from identifying that this is something we wanted to do to, we said, well, first phase is research, right? We have to research and make sure that we cover all of our bases from a depth level and a breadth level across all Asian American, identities and regions, and try to be as inclusive as possible. So we made this giant spreadsheet of all the types of foods that we researched and knew. And we went from, initially our hypothesis was, this should be pretty straightforward, right? A to Z, we can find something. And it would be limiting is kind of what we thought. And then we did it and we realized, oh my gosh, the alphabet's not enough. There's not enough letters to be actually fully inclusive, because there is so much Asian American influence and Asian American types of foods in our daily culture here, right? So our narrowing down process after research, we had to kind of really think about it. And Susan had made a good point that we should really think about foods that are not only representative of Asia, but also have an influence in the American life, right? It's foods that have been popularized, that are part of our culture here, that we grew up with, maybe not knowing what they are, and especially as a way to bring awareness. So that was kind of the lens through which we narrowed down, was let's try to be as inclusive as possible across regions, but also really make sure that we pick the Asian American foods for each letter that are representative of culture and representative of things that we see in Asian America here now, right? And that was kind of the process in terms of picking and choosing the actual foods themselves and the pages. And then in terms of design, we were looking at different styles, and we knew we wanted it to be fun, right? We knew we wanted it to be pop out and visual. We're all very like visual communicators and visual people. And we were kind of looking at different design styles, and we came across and got introduced to a designer through a friend of mine in the Bay Area, Christine, who is ended up illustrating our book. She had her own little kind of matcha sticker design and matcha product business, and we reached out to her and said, "Hey, would this be something of interest?" And lo and behold, she shared with us that one of her goals and dreams was to help illustrate a children's book. And talk about alignment, just being there in terms of, her passion was to do something around illustrating for an Asian American type of cause. And
right.
Here we were with
And
that
food.
idea and food.
I was about to say,
right?
like that we're still like, maybe it's because it's lunchtime, but like the food part of it for me is awesome. And it's a range, like you said, right? I mean, like from boba to banh mi, like there's like, that's like a big, in a way, like scope of, you got drinks and you got food and you've got artifacts that are part of it, like the C page on the website where promo like chopstick, but it's also curry. Like there's just like, yes, we think of design like constraint as this beautiful tool to like help produce something, and then you see how those boundaries are then, how do you just push against them a little bit so you can get everything you want into that book? Because
Right.
Your designer too has to like think really economically too to convey the simplicity of this sort of the cadence of A, B, C, D. So anyway, all those things speak to me quite a bit, I think, which is kind of fun about it.
Yep. And one of the things that we always talked about is like, we grew up saying like B is for banana, right? But how cool would it be if now we could say B is for bibimbap, bento, and banh mi, right? And C is for chopsticks and steamy curry. And so we tried to be as fun as possible with it. And one of the things that we did, and Susan helped us kind of put it all together with her writing background and everything, was actually transform all the words in the book into sort of a rhyme. So it's actually
the lyrical nature of it. That's like the hardest part, the cadence.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was something I think that was unique as well for the book, is bringing in that piece where, parents and folks can read in a lyrical and a fun way and experience the food.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 little kids, so well, they're not little anymore, but the books, and we're filtering out a lot of the littler ones too for younger ages, and even the cardboard style things. And so it's sad to see those go, but especially if they can go to somebody and I don't know, there's so much beautiful things about reading. I love to read. So actually you made a cool point, which was one of my questions to spiral off from this, is how you were talking about how, Susan did some copy editing and everyone brings different skills. You talked a little bit about meeting the group of 3, so to speak, but then how do you all wear those hats within the organization, as it stands to, how do you all play off each other, I guess, to create that way?
Well, it actually came very, in my opinion, Nithin might not agree. I think it all came very organically, because we all have pretty well-defined skill sets. And Nithin has a tech background, computer background, right, and entrepreneurialism. He's
and education.
And education.
Well, right. Yeah. These all play a role.
And Joanna is an attorney professionally by education and practice. And so, and she happened to be I think it's corporate attorney. It's like she happened to know how to incorporate companies because she had done it hundreds of times for other people. And I
like all in a day's work, that like the framework, the framework, which is difficult though, right? Like, cause we talk about business and like some people I talk to are like, I'm in my garage still and I can't keep up with my TikTok, orders, which is a good problem to have. But then there's also like the larger than I don't even know about that part of, the taxes and all the things. Like most people figure it out. That part's pretty straightforward. Most, Secretary of State offices can help you, but it also is nice to be able, like, we have someone who can handle that, and therefore you're freed up to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was just having your own personal attorney. We have a staff attorney,
in-house counsel. Yes,
yeah,
that was what I was like, kind of like.
That's helpful. Yeah, and then I have a writing background,
right.
And I happen to be the only one of us who has kids and who had been through all those thousands of nights of reading books.
Right.
So I had sort of, personal experience in knowing that like rhyming books are catchier and tend to be more popular. And I had the experience of like my kids, like literally just walking down the street, reciting their favorite rhyming children's book, So we kind of stepped into these roles pretty organically, I would say.
That's awesome. Well, then, like I said,
I think I would just add on. I think one of the things I love about our team is that, we all, even though we have our own skill sets, we also have all these like new skill sets that we've learned together. And that's something that's been fun. It's like, we didn't ever think, that we would publish a book, let alone like try to get it off the ground and then go through that process.
I was supposed to say productize a thing, right? Like productizing a piece of creative work is hard, and then monetize even harder, and scaling it. I mean, these are all the, leveling up. And speaking of that, I'm on the site, of course, on the shop page, essentially, like you've got the book, but then you have the bundle, so to speak, which is the book and the stickers. How do the stickers play into that? There's two different designs. How do they play with the book, or are they just, complementary?
Yeah.
So there's three.
Oh, nice. There's three.
There's actually three sets.
Sweet.
And one of them, I think the stickers, just came as like, I think Andrew, you have kids, right? So, like sometimes having like a toy product that accompanies a book is really fun. Like, like a stuffed animal, Elmer the elephant,
right.
or
stuffies are fun.
Yeah, the stuffies that come with the books are fun. And so we thought, stickers, everybody loves stickers, right? I mean, that's
it's gonna be a boba plushie someday. That would be so fun.
It would be so fun.
We've had customers who do plushies, so it's just funny because like anything can become a doll, right? Like if you find the supply chain of it, like anyway, you have so many fun icons on these sticker sheets, so they're just great.
That was the thought was, I mean, some of them look like plushies already. They have little faces.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I can already squeeze it.
We just thought that sticker companion ways, and I would call stickers like almost a toy, right? Are always a popular item to gift with a book, especially when you are giving. And we think of our book as like an ideal baby gift, really.
Right.
And so we thought, okay, stickers with the book. And we specifically designed a page that has words like fave and yum and want. Because
it is taking the language of the book is, I guess, maybe my unasked question, I think.
Yes. It's designed to be, the stickers are kind of designed to be interactive with the book in a way, like we encourage our readers to actually put the stickers in the book.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or on people.
Picture.
On people, on your notebook.
On the window of their car.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I totally spaced. Where you were talking about also, the baby market, so to speak. Like that's a very granular sort of ad segment when you think about it, like to target. So like talking about scaling, talking about getting that word out, because even the copy on the description is like great for young readers and families, et cetera. Right. So like that is a crucial sort of pipeline to develop audience. Right.
Yes.
How have you all, because you got the community thing, everyone wants to have a newsletter and get people deals and all that stuff, but what is sort of your thoughts around that and where you can take this sort of next, so to speak? hoping people keep having babies, obviously. But like, you said OC, Orange County has like a demographic and a base there. But then this is still, again, I mean, we have May, we have AAPI month. Like there's so many times to sort of circle through this sort of narrative of your audience targeting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we know our audience, and, we've started with that the last 2 years. We've been able to do, we launched at the end of the first AAPI month in 2021. So it's actually been a little over a year since we have had the book published and ready to go.
Yeah.
Our goal, I think marketing wise, I will say marketing isn't all of our experts, but it's something we're new to. And we're in that phase of learning how to do growth marketing, how to kind of get the word out, how to do targeting. But with what we know so far, we found that those seasonal cultural events where it's AAPI Awareness Month or, Lunar New Year or things like that are times when we can kind of push it out
or
a little
back
bit.
To school time. But you said that young readers. So it's like, those are like that's almost like, what's the cadence of like from wedding season to baby? Like you have to think of like May, like, the 9 months. Anyway, there's like so many ways to sort of slice and dice the calendar and try to stay relevant across the year too, for people.
And I think we have to get to
whatever.
parents, right? We have to get to more parents. And so I think we're still figuring out what are those avenues to do that. And we're learning a lot, right? We just came off having our book at a craft fair, right? Where there were a lot of vendors, and that was really popular to see people come through. And we had people come through who read our book, who have our book, share our stories. And then we had people come through who saw the book with kids, and they were like, this is something I need for the holidays. And it's a great gifting concept too, as Susan was saying. So I think the audience varies. We just have to kind of figure out how to get the word out. We're hoping to, get more collaborations done through social media on Instagram, right? We'd love to work with more AAPI influencers or just AAPI folks who care about representation and promoting diverse products, because we are that as well. And one of the things that, has been really cool for us is we've seen our book, bought from almost all those different states, even some international. And it's a very diverse demographic, right? Surprisingly, we thought maybe, Asian Americans would be our first target, but they haven't been our biggest target.
That's actually super positive too, right? Like there's representing for your own community, but then there's representing for your community outward too.
Exactly.
Which is kind of neat. I didn't really think about it that way.
Yeah.
Which I think that's actually super positive. Oh gosh. So we've kind of talked a little bit about what's next, right? Like you have some targets and thoughts. Now that you've had to go through this in the last couple of years, basically, and there's been a lot of sort of pandemic era businesses sort of in general on the show. This is sort of pandemic era, but sort of not. Like, I mean, your relationship probably was pre-pandemic, but then how has that space allowed for that? And, what, well, I guess the way the question I'm trying to ask is like, pandemic aside, but also pandemic included, what have you sort of learned in this venture and this sort of collaborative group project, right? What would you grade yourself, if you had to grade your group project as your business? You know what I mean?
Well, I have no complaints. Like, I think I would give us an A because I think we had already worked together. Yeah, I would. We had already worked together previously, so we knew each other. We knew our styles, and we're just all very collaborative, and we communicate really well, I think.
Nice.
And we have different lanes. And so, Nithin in his work world will help promote the book in his, with his network. And I have a completely different network. And so I promote the book in my network. And so we have got 3, and if you count Christine as well, our illustrator, we got 4 pretty
champions, ambassadors.
4 champions and 4 networks. So we can cover a lot just in terms of like people we personally know. And then we do need to do better targeting on social media, but locally we have been able to do like we recently did a book reading at a school, and
I was about to say, how's the school outreach going? Because that's a huge component, right?
We're able to kind of combine that with like a sales event. So what we
Yeah.
do is like promote that we're coming to your school to read our book, and we'll sign books. And then
Yeah,
the school
that's
puts
fun.
out order forms and, and sends an order form home with every kid.
That's awesome.
And so that's
Super
been
high
really,
touch too. Nice.
yeah,
Like,
it's
you can
high
see the
touch. It's
impact.
local. It's
Yeah.
local, so limited in geography, but
Yeah, but like as an e-commerce brand to have a local presence, that's also positive too, right? And like
Yeah.
you said, Nathan, education is a passion of yours and your sort of other part of your life. So therefore it kind of checks both those boxes.
And I think one thing for us too, right? We wrote this as a passion project and because we really care. And so we want that person connection, right? And we've had amazing stories. We encourage people to share, if they're comfortable, stories of, how this book has impacted their life, right? For the
Nice.
kids or for their families. Even send in photos that we can share on our social media if they're comfortable with it. And we've heard some really amazing things, right? I've gotten to meet kids just in passing who've memorized the whole book and they're excited to me, right? And it just warms your heart
That's
that
awesome.
they're growing up with this stuff that, they can relate to. We have
their kids, right? That's the generational thing too. And that's like when you make, the gathering and the tea house and all of it, it's like.
Exactly. Like we have a parent who has a kid pick a food every week, and then they go try that food and they take the book with them and they like check it off, right?
Cookbook. Oh, that'd be so fun.
So I think there's a lot of ideas.
Oh, that would be fun.
We've thought about this too, like recipe cards or, I think there's ways to get creative for us. It's just, it's just a matter of it's stepping stones and we're kind of figuring things out.
Yeah. And you have lives and you have like, there's so much, there's so much that goes into all of our own lives. So, I mean, we can talk ideas all day.
But this has been, I think for me too, like a personal creative outlet. Through the pandemic, we started, a few months before, and then the pandemic sort of happened. We were kind of like, what do we do? How do we meet? Right. And we ended up being very adaptive, and we met like most of the weekends, and this was a weekend project. We'd like be creative on Zoom for 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
And then when things started like going back in person, like we can meet in person, we'd meet at parks. Like I remember we got together at a park to look at our first print of the entire book. Right.
Wow,
and we were
what
like,
a moment too,
what
right?
do we need to change? Yeah.
Burned into your memory.
Exactly. So it's been, I think, like a fun creative outlet. I think we did really well with the little, structure, and also with all the craziness of the pandemic that we had happen in the last 3 years. So
no, there's no real rubric. I'm not asking you to really grade yourself, but like, it's always interesting to hear what people have learned and what they pass on too, right? Because again, you have strengths, you stay in your lane, you figure out how to collaborate, but then you also have to like learn new things. And that's always obviously someone like me, I love learning. That's sometimes it sounds really corny, I know, but like that's sometimes the coolest part of it, right? So, and you have a learning product, so I think that kind of is on brand and on mission as well. Well, goodness gracious, we say on the show, every sticker has a story. Today's story, of course, is y'all's. This R is for Rice companion stickers. I really, appreciate them so much. There's so much possibility with this design and your visual style. So very excited for all of you as you continue your growth in this space, which is children's publishing, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. Thank you so much for y'all time and sharing your story with everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for having us. Yeah. This is our first podcast, is R's for Rice.
Well, there you go. I wasn't aware. As we were going, I thought this was a very seasoned podcast guest here. And I'm sure the audience will say that as well. Speaking of you, audience, JKL Teahouse.com. That's where R is for Rice can be found. They are the publishers of R is for Rice. And I encourage you to check them out and their stickers and all the cool things that will be coming down the pipeline. I think there's so many options for y'all. So that is very encouraging and excited for you all.
And it's also available just at rsforrice.com. Both go to the same place for simplicity.
Right. I was about to say there is a R is for the last two things. You got R is for Rice on Instagram. And then that will take you right there. And you have that hashtag for share your stories and all that stuff. And we love to share stories. So I totally can get on board with that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. And until then, be good to each other. Thank you so much.
That wraps up this episode of Stickers on the Mic, brought to you by StickerGiant.com. You can download us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again for listening to Stickers on the Mic. We'll see you next time.